Welcome to Freelance Sucks. Here we discuss the dark side of freelancing about which nobody usually talks out loud. In this show, we speak with experienced freelancers, and I'm sure listening to their stories helps you prepare for freelancers' challenges. My name is Yuri, I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Brian Gallagher, a corporate American turned global citizen and lifestyle coach and co-founder of Throwback Fitness, a workout studio with a gamified fitness experience. So, welcome, Brian.
Thank you, Yuri. Nice to be
It's
here.
always, we had this conversation before, like the difference between freelancing and solopreneur, and I feel like there are many intersections, but there are still some difference. And tell me, for you as a business owner, as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, what is the most challenging part of being a solopreneur?
There's a couple things that come to mind, man. As I just rattle off a few here, you're always working by yourself. I typically like working by myself, but I also like to feel that I'm not by myself. So I'll go work in cafes here in Amsterdam. I've met some people through that, like people that I see that appear to be other solopreneurs or, running their own thing. So it's nice to connect with people that way. I would say the idea that it depends on business model, but I would say for me, mine is client based. I'm not selling a product. I feel like I'm always hunting for clients. It's not like I don't have a recurring business model. So it feels like every month or every couple months you're starting at zero and you need to kind of refill your pipeline. That's a pretty stressful thing at times. Another one is, and I don't know, the idea, now I think of this analogy in my head. Now, I don't know if this will make much sense to you. I'll try to explain here. So I've written about this a couple times, like corporate is to like a tram car or a trolley or a metro, and entrepreneurship, solopreneurship, freelance, or whatever you want to call it, is like a roller coaster. So the corporate job, in my view, all you have to do is not mess up and you get that bi-monthly bank account top up, and it's a very, very emotionally kind of steady Eddie between like a 5 and a 7, Entrepreneurship, you're not getting that consistent bank account top up. One day things are going great. You got a new client, your post had a bunch of impressions. You got 5 new leads. And then 2 hours later, a client decided not to work with you. Someone is asking you for something that you have to create for them. Your email bombed, and this is all in the same day. So like 1 hour could be a 10, then you're at a 2, then you're up. It's like every day is like that, and it's emotionally tough sometimes. It's like you have good days and bad days, and they're sometimes the same day. To me that was pretty wild. And something that I've kind of just gotten used to. I mentioned before, like I've been out 11 years now. I've been out. I forgot to mention this. So Freedom Day today. This is 11-year anniversary today. I've been out of corporate as long as I was in. So I was 11 in, and now I'm 11 out.
Like in the middle,
so
solstice.
That to me, corporate solstice is today. So that to me, that to me that's a pretty big milestone. 10 years felt like a pretty big milestone, but then like, wow, next year I'll be out of corporate longer than I was in corporate. And that to me kind of blows my mind because, everything I worked for to get into corporate, getting good grades in college, getting good grades in high school, going to college, studying and applying for jobs and all that horse shit that we do when we're getting out of college to get a job. And, I abandoned it completely and I haven't gone back. So, but I've been out just as long. So I hope I answered the question. I know I ran off in a tangent there, but I would say those are the ones that I struggle with the most. Another one, I will be brief on this one. It's social media. It's so as solopreneurs, we spend a lot of our time on social media. And with that comes the challenge of being able to insulate yourself from comparison. That is everywhere. Like every time you open up Instagram or LinkedIn, you're like, oh, I scaled my business to 6 figures in this year, or in 6 months, or in 6 weeks, or, I just hit $1 million month. And it's like, or it's like all kinds of shit. And that gets really difficult to see. I'm not a materialistic person, like, but like seeing that, always seeing the highlights is tough to see. You always think you're like missing the mark in something. And it really takes, you really have to stop and think sometimes about what you have and what is good in your life now, because, you know, social media can make you feel like hell sometimes. That's not that fun.
I feel like it's a very, very tricky part, because sometimes when you see this kind of a post, it can do both. It can harm you or it can help you, because most people think that, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Like, this
Yeah.
person is having this, what am I doing wrong? But most likely you are not doing anything wrong. You are doing everything right. So the other question you might ask, what can I do better to
Yeah.
go to their side? And the craziest part is that you usually think that from the negative thing, like, what am I doing wrong? Because that's what we've heard from like everywhere, from social media, from movies, etc. Like, not what will I do right, but I'm curious. You told about finding clients and getting leads. So what do you do to keep your leads coming to you constantly, so you don't have to be worry so much about this upcoming, top of
Yeah.
the funnel?
So I usually compare my business in two phases. So I was on Instagram before. I used to run my business from Instagram. So find all my clients from there, create all my content, share it on Instagram. And I found it to be very, very difficult to find clients consistently. And until I moved over to LinkedIn, I didn't really know why. But on Instagram, I feel like I did everything wrong with respect to like outbound. I wasn't proactive in reaching out to people. I just thought, I'll just create cool content and people will just find me. And they'll find you, but they won't be. I was just expecting people to say, hey, I want to work with you. Like, that's not how it works. And as I moved over to LinkedIn, I learned that it's like you have to be constantly out looking and reaching out to people and starting conversations. The more conversations you have, the more clients you will work with. That is just kind of a matter of fact. If you just put content out and you don't talk to anybody, or you don't even engage with other people's content and support other people, it's very difficult to keep consistent leads or get leads without doing that. It does take time. There are some tricks to automating some portions of it, but I think, the majority of it is just a lot of kind of grind work. You got to get in there and you got to meet people and you got to make relationships. It's just, I think that's the way that it works, that, you can keep a consistent pipeline and be meeting people and be top of mind for people. Because an important thing to remember here is that, just because you reach out to someone or you send an email sequence or you write a post that says, hey, DM me if you're ready to start doing this. Not everyone's ready when they see that post. They might not be ready for 3 months. They might not be ready for a year. I've had people come back to me and say, I've been following you for a year and a half now. And, I'm curious, like, what's it look like to work with you? Like, that happens a lot. Most of my clients are people that have never responded or engaged in my content, that I found just through pure outreach. So I think that is a huge thing to remember. And I tell people this all the time, like, look, content is a piece of this, but it's only one small portion of the lead gen or pipeline funnel. You have to do other things.
How do you build client relationships?
The way I found to do it is by, helping them solve problems before they indicate that they are even ready to work with you. Like, if I had a guy reach out to me and I felt I was really generous with what I gave to him. Like, I knew he was struggling. I knew he wanted to work with me. I knew he was waiting for something before he was ready to sign up. So I just treated him like he was a client. He would shoot me a message. I would send him an email back. I would give him a response. I would share a resource with him that I had that I would share with other clients. And then finally, he was just like, okay, I'm ready. How do I pay? And I was like, okay. So just, being generous and helping people, I mean, never really hurts anyone. I mean, I find that I have a lot of things that I've built for people that I'm happy to just share with people for free, because my ultimate goal here, and the reason I do what I do, is because I know the feeling of waking up every day in a corporate job that you don't like, and that dread that follows you the whole day. And And I also know the feeling of waking up knowing that you control your time and you are doing work you enjoy. And I want to take people from that corporate feeling to this feeling. And that is my mission. That's why I'm here, because I love that feeling so much and I want other people to experience that.
No, it's very interesting that you mentioned that about not liking what they do, but people are still doing it. And sometimes even freelancers and solopreneurs, they don't really like what they do, but they feel stuck. They feel that they must doing it. They feel that they still keep going on no matter what. And it's the hardest part to overcome this feeling that I'm doing it, like I'm not creating just another corporate business, but on a smaller scale, but that I'm really having fun. So I'm curious, how do you have fun in what you are doing?
I find that the part that gives me the most energy is the actual calls with clients, and even sales calls with clients, like hearing the problems they have and sharing what I've been able to do for myself and for others um, to help them overcome things that are making them feel stuck, and to like just know that you can, in what I'm doing, I can help change the trajectory of someone's life. Like that to me gives me energy. That makes me excited. That's part of like having fun in this role. And the other thing is, this is not a corporate gig. You don't have to fit into any sort of like, character. I felt like I had to fit into a character or persona in my corporate role, even down to the clothes. But now I can just be me. If I want to say something that shows a little personality in a message to somebody, I can do that. And having
Yeah.
that control and autonomy, I think is definitely helpful in finding joy in what you're doing.
Oh my God, you just reminded me. I remember when I was working in the bank, and the first day I came, I sent someone an email, and I had this PS. I had this quote that sometimes it's easier to apologize than it is to get a permission. And it was my manager in the copy. And he asked me, like, you don't do like this. You don't write this kind of quotes and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know. Sorry. But now I can like do whatever I want. I
Say
can
whatever you want.
write whatever
Yeah.
I think. And I really love your approach by giving value first, because that's exactly how it works. And I'm a full believer that everyone can learn if they want by themselves. But if they are working with experts, if they are working with freelancers, with solopreneurs, they're kind of like purchasing shortcuts. So if you
Yeah.
are like telling your story, if you're sharing your experience with people, they can go the same way by themselves. It's always a trade. Either you have time, either you have money, and you can
Yeah.
choose. It's
True.
always to choose. And I feel like when you are giving people this choice, it's so much better. And once again, it's all about value. It's all about helping others. Because when people feel this genuine help from your side, they'll be so much more willing to work with you in the future.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like a totally no-brainer. So thank you very much for
Yeah.
bringing it up.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
I'm curious, if your friend wanted to become a freelancer or a solopreneur, what are top 3 things you'd advise them to consider before doing it?
Um, can you stomach inconsistent pay? I feel like it's just a part of the game. It's just, if you are going to struggle with the idea that one month you might make X and then another month you might make half of that, it might not be for you. If you are not okay with the idea of rejection, because you will do a lot of outreach, you will have a lot of people ignore you. I've had some people block me. I've had some people, maybe throw a little shade on my post. Not much on LinkedIn. It's a little better than other platforms, so that's a nice added benefit. And yeah, I mean, I think those are two. Like, if you like working in a team, you might feel a little lonely unless you want to go work at like a co-working space and kind of mingle with other people who are doing the same thing. I find that to be, some people struggle with that. And if you like the idea of structure, like if you like the idea, you can create structure for yourself, and that's not a very big problem. But I know some people are of the mindset where They just rather be told what to do and just go do it than have to think about what they have to go do, or be like a visionary or creative about what they get to go do. So I like to think of it as like the CEO versus the COO type, mindset. Operations, here's what we have to do. We're going to go do it. We're going to go do it. But the CEO is more of like creating the plan and the direction and the strategy. And I feel if you find yourself to be much more of an operationally driven person, it could be difficult for you. It may be difficult.
Yeah. I wish to have the sky's the limit, but time is the limit to our conversation. So the final question. If you were starting your solo journey today, what is one thing you would have done differently?
Oh, I mentioned this. I wouldn't have a website. I don't think I need it. I would, and I'm also very, I'm very peculiar in that I like to try to do things differently, or do things in a way with like what's the right way I want to say this? Like, everybody else does this and you have to do the X, Y, and Z. I'm like, I'm going to do it just without it and just see how it goes. I would do it totally with, my LinkedIn page, and probably like maybe like a Notion document where I could build sort of a website in. A landing page would probably be helpful as you start to collect email addresses. But if I was just starting now, I would have Notion and my LinkedIn page, and that would be it.
Got it.
That'll be it.
Brian, thank you so much for sharing your experience and for having such an open conversation.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button or 5 stars and share it with your friends. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.